You know that feeling when you try to do something nice and people somehow twist it into a problem? Yeah, that's how my story with the tunnel started. It was mid-July, one of those blazing days when the air smells like asphalt and irritation. My property sits at the end of a small cul-de-sac, right next to the private access road that leads into our HOA-managed park. A few years back, I built a short tunnel under the slope, partly for utility access, partly because I thought it looked cool. When the HOA installed a new gas line, I tried to help. I told them, "Hey, you might want to double-check the tunnel clearance. It's only 8.5 feet. Their president, Karen, of course, laughed like I'd just told her the sky was falling. Karen, 8.5 feet? Oh, please, our trucks are standard size. You don't know what you're talking about. Me. Well, the last delivery truck barely fit. Maybe just measure. Karen, we'll be fine, dear. We have professionals. There it was. That sweet mix of condescension and confidence that only someone from an HOA can serve with a smile. For the next few days, I watched them parade around the street like they were planning a military operation. Clipboards, radios, high visibility vests, the whole thing. I reminded them again about the height limit. Got another laugh. Karen, we don't need your input. We've got everything under control. Me. Sure, just don't say I didn't warn you. That line, "Don't say I didn't warn you," turned out to be prophetic. The morning the gas truck arrived, I was sitting on my porch with a mug of coffee, watching the chaos unfold. The driver slowed down, eyeing the tunnel's concrete arch. You could tell he was skeptical, but Karen waved him forward like a traffic cop at a parade. And then, scrap! The sound was so sharp it made my teeth hurt, metal grinding against stone. The truck stopped halfway in, the back wheels spinning helplessly. The cab lights flickered. Steam hissed from somewhere underneath. Karen's face froze in horror. Mine. I'll admit, I smiled. Just a little. She ran over, heels clicking, waving her arms like she could somehow unstick a 2-ton gas truck with pure authority. Karen. Oh my God, why isn't it moving? Driver. Because, lady, it's stuck. The roof's wedged tight. I leaned against the porch railing, took a slow sip of coffee, and said loud enough for everyone to hear. Me. Told ya. 8.5 feet. Her glare could have melted concrete. But there was no getting around it. Literally. The HOA's shiny new gas truck was jammed inside my tunnel, and the entire neighborhood was gathering to watch. And that was just the beginning. By the time the fire department showed up, half the neighborhood was gathered like it was the 4th of July. People were filming, whispering, and pretending not to laugh. The HOA board, meanwhile, looked like someone had just told them they'd have to pay retail for the rest of their lives. The fire chief took one look at the scene, the gas truck wedged halfway through my tunnel, and let out a long, tired sigh. Chief, who approved this route? Karen, arms crossed. The HOA did. We've done this before. The tunnel owner failed to mark it properly. Me. Excuse me? There's a giant height warning sign right there. 8.5 feet. You all laughed at it, remember? She gave me that tight, artificial smile she used whenever she was cornered. Karen. That sign isn't officially sanctioned by the HOA. It doesn't count. Me. You mean the sign that I paid for, installed, and that turned out to be exactly right? The fire chief just looked between us like he was trying to figure out which of us was the bigger headache. Chief. Ma'am, he said to Karen, the truck's not moving without heavy equipment. You're lucky the tank's intact. Her face turned ghost white. You could practically hear her pride deflate. The tow crew arrived about an hour later, and that's when the real chaos started. They tried pulling from the back, but the tunnel's incline made it impossible. When they reversed the truck to lift the front, the pressure cracked a section of the concrete arch. Dust rained down like flour. Everyone screamed. Me. You break it, you buy it. Karen, this is your tunnel. You're responsible for this damage. Me. My tunnel that you sent a gas truck into. Not how responsibility works, sweetheart. That last word, sweetheart, might have been what sent her over the edge. She stomped closer, pointing her finger at me like a prosecutor in a courtroom. Karen, you'll be hearing from the HOA lawyer. Me, smirking. Can't wait. Maybe he'll bring a tape measure. The tow team had to call for a second rig. Meanwhile, the entire cul-de-sac smelled like diesel and burned rubber. Neighbors were taking selfies with the stuck truck. A local news van even pulled up. Apparently someone had posted the whole thing online. Karen's face was on every camera. Her "we've got professionals" speech from 2 days ago had aged like milk. By sunset, the truck still hadn't moved. The HOA board huddled near the street, whispering like they were plotting a cover-up. And when the fire chief told them they'd have to block the area overnight, I heard Karen mutter under her breath, "Karen, this isn't over. He's going to pay for this." Oh, I knew that tone. The HOA wasn't just embarrassed. They were gearing up for revenge. And the funny thing was, I was ready for it. By the next morning, I could already tell something was brewing. You know that eerie calm before a storm? That's exactly what it felt like. Except this storm wore pearls and carried a clipboard. Karen showed up at my door at precisely 8:01 a.m., flanked by 2 HOA board members like some kind of suburban firing squad. One of them held a file folder, the other a camera. "Karen," tight smile. "Good morning. We're here to inform you that your tunnel violates HOA structural compliance. You'll need to fill this demolition notice within 7 days. Me, raising an eyebrow. "Demolition notice? For the tunnel your truck got stuck in?" Karen, "It's unsafe. You endangered HOA property." Me, "Pretty sure your truck endangered itself." She wasn't listening. She just started reading from her clipboard like she was hosting a bad courtroom show. Karen, Section 12, Paragraph B. All private structures affecting HOA traffic must maintain adequate clearance. Since your tunnel does not, it's subject to removal. I leaned against my doorframe and smiled. Me, "Karen, you do realize I built that tunnel on my land, right? HOA jurisdiction ends at the fence." That one hit her hard. You could see the flicker of panic flash in her eyes before she covered it up with fake confidence. "Karen, we'll see what legal counsel says." The board members turned to leave, but not before one of them snapped a few pictures of the tunnel. They were clearly building a case. That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that smug smirk of hers, like she thought she'd won. But what she didn't know was that I'd already filed my own report. Photos, measurements, timestamps, and every text I'd sent her about the height warning. By morning, the local paper had picked up the story. Headline: Gas truck stuck in HOA tunnel disaster. Residents warned president ignored safety signs. It spread fast. The HOA group chat leaked screenshots. Neighbors roasted her in the comments, and someone even made a meme with Karen standing beside the truck that said, "Professionals know best." That's when she snapped. That afternoon, I got a cease and desist letter claiming I was defaming the HOA's reputation. It was printed on fancy paper, with their logo at the top, but signed by Karen herself. No lawyer, just pure ego. Me reading it aloud. "Cease and desist hunt for telling the truth? Cute." I drafted my response with attached photos, including the one of her waving the truck forward, sent copies to the local council, fire department, and her HOA's insurance provider. By sunset, her phone was blowing up. I could hear her shouting on her porch. By the end of the week, the tunnel wasn't the only thing collapsing. Karen's composure was too. I came home one afternoon to find a shiny white SUV parked crooked across my driveway. Karen was inside, phone pressed to her ear, looking like she was trying to keep her world from crumbling. She saw me walking up and immediately hung up, stepping out in that same business casual armor she always wore when she wanted to look in control. "Karen, we need to talk." Me, "You mean the part where your HOA insurance company called me this morning?" Karen, snapping, "They weren't supposed to. You went behind my back." Me, "Behind your back?" Karen, "They called me for a statement. Turns out, ignoring height warnings voids your coverage." Who knew? Her face flushed crimson. She tried to compose herself, but her voice cracked. "Karen, you don't understand how bad this looks for us, for me." Me, "Oh, I understand perfectly." It turned out that the HOA's insurer had officially ruled it as negligence. The gas company was demanding compensation for damages, and the HOA board was livid that Karen had overridden safety advice. A few members even resigned after seeing the leaked footage of her waving the truck forward. By the next HOA meeting, the room felt like a courtroom. Neighbors filled every chair, whispering, glaring, waiting for the fireworks. Karen sat at the head of the table, stiff as a statue. She tried to start the meeting, but her voice barely carried. "Karen, regarding the tunnel incident." Neighbor, interrupting. "You mean the one you caused?" Another voice. You ignored the guy's warnings. We all saw the video. The crowd erupted. Phones recording, people shouting. For once, Karen didn't have control. Then one of the board members stood and slid a paper toward her. A formal motion of removal. Her title as HOA president was officially revoked. She tried to argue, but no one listened. The room applauded as she stormed out, cheeks wet, muttering something about ungrateful neighbors. After the meeting, a few residents came up to me, half laughing, half apologetic. Neighbor, guess your warning wasn't so funny after all, huh? Me, smiling. Guess not. Weeks later, the tunnel was repaired, courtesy of the HOA's damage fund. And in a quiet, poetic twist, they installed a brand new sign right above the entrance. Clearance 8.5 FT, proceed with caution. Every time I walk past it, I can't help but grin. The lesson's carved right there in steel and concrete. People like Karen don't learn from advice. They learn from impact. And this time, the impact was loud enough for the whole neighborhood to hear.